Welcome to the Jamila Adams Experience podcast. This is a place to be if you're a woman over 40 who wants to feel inspired, empowered, and heard. Jamila Adams, your host, will be talking about how to find joy and happiness in the face of life's challenges. So come and join the experience.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining this week's episode. I'm so excited to have you here. I know I say this every week, but it's true. I am excited to have you here. And also, don't forget to like, share, vote wherever you see the podcast. Please subscribe. And hey, you're doing me a favor too by getting the algorithm all into it. But anyway, as you know, like I said, this is going to be the year of Better Me, Better You. And so this year, we're talking about things to improve ourselves and others. So as the year progresses, I'm going to have guests and solo shows talking about how we can improve our mental, physical, and financial health, things that we really need to focus on. So with that being said, this week's guest is Meg Grett-Pratt, and we're going to be talking about how that wonderful word of dating. So she's going to give us tips and how to just survive for those who are single or looking to maybe date. This is what we're going to be talking about this week. So, Meg, introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, my name is Meg, and I am the founder and speaker at Dating Tips by Meg. It's a nonprofit I founded in 2021 to kind of give back from my experience. I had a bad dating experience once when I was getting divorced, and it changed my world. And so I met someone very briefly and we dated for about 6 months, but within that 6 month time period, there was a lot of things going on that I didn't know. About at the 6 month mark, there was a traumatic event and he physically assaulted me, and that was my eyes opening. And so at that point, I recognized that this was an abusive relationship at that point. And so I had to meet with an advocate because we went to court. And when I met with the advocate, I was very surprised to see all the things that I did not see all the way along. And that I was out of 25 questions of things that occurred in the relationship, I checked 23 of those boxes. I had no idea what a bad relationship I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I finally came around 7 years later, after being stalked for 7 years, after ending that relationship, I decided wanted to help other victims. And so first I decided to study digital forensics, thinking that I would help people who are being digitally stalked with the evidence that they needed to prosecute their offender, or at least be validated that something was happening in their world. And very few people could be helped by that. As far as what I could do with my technology experience was, investigate probably one of their devices over a year's period of time, just because our devices hold so much information.
Right.
So I've been talking to a lot of different women and over the years and realized that most of us don't know. Like myself, I didn't know what the early signs of dating abuse look like, the red flags, what my body was saying to me during that time period. All those things I had no idea. And I thought I was a pretty smart person, but it was very naive when it came to dating abuse and stalking. And so when I founded Dating Tips by Meg, I thought I could reach young people at high school, college level, women of all ages. I think it's good information for both male and females. But if I had to target an audience, I would say young people before they start dating. And I speak to them about the early signs, how to prevent it, how to get help, and letting them know that they're not alone in the world.
Right. That's tremendous. I commend you for that, because it is hard to see the signs because you like this person or you really love them, and for them to do the things that they do to us, we make excuses for it and we try to bypass it, but deep down our body's saying this isn't right. We need to do something to end this before it goes a lot further. So I commend you for standing up for yourself. So when you say you founded Dating Tips by Meg, what other than this, what else drove you to doing this?
Well, I think the main thing was that I didn't want someone else to go through what I've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
I trying to think, and I learned a lot of things along the way, and things not to do, things to do, how to react. I think a lot of things you think are natural instincts, but you kind of need to do the total opposite when it comes to especially stalking or being watched. And you think you find a hidden camera, you want to destroy it, or your phone's getting infected, you want to destroy it or get a new one. But that's not it's not how you react when you're stalking. So I want to share that information with other people so that they're not having to stumble along the way and figure out these things on their own. And it kind of prolongs some of the things, some of the experience that you have to have. And so if you can shorten that by, right away knowing, oh, if my boyfriend's extremely jealous or, very possessive, I don't have any friends anymore, I don't go out anymore with anybody else, recognize those really quickly and say, well, this sounds like a bad thing starting to happen versus 6 months down the road when you're getting punched in the face, you're like, okay, now I finally recognize some of this. There's lots of things that are along the way that kind of give you that inkling that something is bad is happening, and it's only going to get worse. It's kind of the message I want to say is that when people learn things early, then they don't have to go through all, like, we can prevent violence from happening, we can stop them from getting really traumatized mentally and physically.
Exactly. So when you came up with this, was it something that you wanted to like do live teaching, or was this something that you have classes for? Is this something like you have webinars for? So how do you approach this?
Well, at this time, I'm looking at I do high schools and colleges, college
Mhm.
campuses, and then I do a lot of different just community events. I have an event coming up with the Girl Scouts, and so I'm actually going down a little bit in the age and going into middle schoolers and high schoolers,
Wow.
and just doing some workshops with them,
Mhm.
talking about healthy relationship and digital boundaries. And so, just different formats. I kind of love doing it live because you can talk to people and see if they're getting it or see if it's resonating with them, so you're going down the right pathway, because there's lots of different avenues you can go down when you're trying to teach preventative, or red flags. When you see the little eyes nodding or people, or they're staring off to space because they're like, oh, this doesn't even resonate with me. It's really hard to do that sometimes over an online
Mhm.
audience. So I prefer to do it in person, and then, try to get people engaged and getting the audience participating and the heads nodding.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, there's a variety of ways you can teach it. I've started coming up with some webinars. They're not quite ready yet.
Got you. Right, right. Because to me, it just seems very disheartening. The younger the age bracket is that you have to start telling people about this. And it's like, why do we even have to do this? But it's to inform them of what could happen. It's like you said, it's preventative. And it breaks my heart to see middle schoolers possibly having to deal with digital stalking or harassment. I mean, we've always known about bullies, but it's different when it's someone that you're close to who you think really likes you. Because to me, it's, that whole thing and I'm pretty sure you remember this growing up. It's like, oh, if a boy hits you, that means he likes you. No, that's not
Right.
true.
It's not true. Let's not take that. Yeah, let's not take that to heart. But yeah, but you did hear that a lot of times. Oh, if they pull your ponytail, oh, they like you. Yeah, but when we're teaching some of this to be kind of a normal experience, and it's like, let's not teach that to our girls and teach that it's okay to have that in a relationship. Let's stop it before, early.
Yeah, because like this is our body, we have our own autonomy, and we should be able to say, hey, I don't like it when you do that, or no, I really don't like it when you do that. And I think it goes back to the steps of teaching young girls and boys, that keep your hands to yourself. That if you don't want people to hit you, don't hit them. I mean, but it's sometimes it's never been taught, and that's unfortunate. And so I commend you for taking that time and taking that step to, unfortunately, the things that you've experienced in order to get the message out. So with that being said, I know that your experience is not a pretty experience, but what joy do you find in helping others in this instance?
It's amazing that when my past experience or my work experience came with sales, conference planning. I worked at a college for 10 years. It was always kind of like a managerial thing. And I thought when I finally was able to start being back to myself after this experience, that I would, just go back to a job and everything would be good and everything in life would be normal. But I realized that I couldn't go on like knowing so many people are being affected by it. Girls 16 to 24 experience violence and stalking at the highest rate of any population. So it's not just I'm going to pick, to do this before they start dating for just because it's good nature, but it's also because of the statistics that those girls are out there and they're getting affected at the most. And so many people like, I mean, I didn't think myself as naive, but they're pretty naive when it comes to dating and relationships at that age. And so needing to have the information, needing to get the information early so that they can be aware and make informed choices throughout their life. Um, Kind of the important parts to me. And so when I see like people even asking questions when they're younger girls, but they're asking these questions, it's sad to think, oh, they are experiencing it, but I'm glad that the information is getting to them at that point. It makes me so happy to see that people are like, wow, I learned a lot about this, even if it's for friendship. When the early ages, you're kind of like you're hoping it's friendship, but most of the time they are already dating or having these romantic relationships. But it makes me thrilled when people are either able to say, wow, thank you so much. I'm going to implement this implement this right away with a friend I have, or, oh, my boyfriend's like this. Maybe I should talk to him because we talk a lot about communication and boundaries. And so knowing that they've gotten something out of it, and it's not, through my experience, other people can, prevent themselves from going through this. So there's a lot of joy I get to just lots of different ways. And I meet a lot of different women, a lot of different girls, all these different ages. And almost always I unfortunately meet people with a story similar to mine or something, an experience they've had. And sometimes it's just knowing that they were able to communicate that with me because it was, there's that trust that's built into the relationship that like, oh, you've gone through it. Let me share my story. I never shared this with anybody, and I didn't know it was abuse. I didn't get divorced for like 20 years because I didn't know I was in an abusive relationship.
Right.
So just those eyes opening and people just, bettering their lives from information I'm sharing really makes me happy.
Good. And thank you for stepping out into your purpose and doing this, because as we talked prior to, I told you about my experience as well. And I didn't realize that it was. I mean, as you could say, we don't see the red flags. And I didn't think it was that serious until the very end of us seeing each other again. That's when I knew, oh, this is serious. And I've been very blessed and fortunate that it didn't become physical. The mental
Right.
part of it is the part that lingers. And it's hard to even communicate that to somebody who doesn't or hasn't experienced it. So I thank you for letting me tell you my story and my experience, and give ideas about how we can keep what's happened to us from happening to others, because it's very important. And especially for me as a parent and grandparent, I have two granddaughters and one's a preteen. And it would hurt me so much to think that this will be something that she may have to endure. And for your statistics, it just seems like this is the known. Think about the ones that haven't said anything.
Right.
You
Definitely
know,
unreported. People don't talk about it. I think they say 33% of people, teens that are in an abusive relationship, actually tell anybody that ever happened to them.
right, right.
It's so sad. So one of the sessions I do is for parents, and like just be that open parent, be that person they'll talk to, or be a trusted adult. If you have nieces, nephews, grandkids, be that trusted adult that they're like, I can talk to them about anything and they'll help me, or they'll understand, or they'll just listen and be in my corner. I try to do that with my own kids.
Mm-hmm.
I know sometimes you'll have a shocking revelation to tell me, and maybe I'm not gonna love it, right at the beginning, but I'm always there for you. I always can hear talk to you, and I give you advice or help you navigate the world, because it's a scary world out there for young people.
Oh yeah, it really is. And that's the sad part about it, is that there are parents who don't take the time. And I think that we need to encourage them to take the time, because most of the time they don't want to talk about it because something traumatic happened to them. Things that are triggering them. And if they don't know how to handle what triggers them, they definitely can't help their child learn how to navigate. So yes, always thank you for saying that. Have that open relationship, that open communication, and also be that trusted adult that kids can come to. It's always good to have that one adult that says, oh, hey, you can talk to me. I'm not going to break your trust.
Right.
However, if something's going down and it's to the point where authorities have to be called in, I have to step in.
Right. Right. There's that mandating reporting depending on your life and what you're going through, but or just the safety, it's like, oh, that's a safety concern.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, like with people that are victims, one thing that is your instinct to jump in and save them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little part of you has to remember that they've been power and controlled by this partner this whole time. That's what, abuse is about.
Mm-hmm.
And that they need to be part of the decision, or, like there needs to be part of their decision to say, okay, yes, I want to do this, because you got to give them back some of their power and their
Yes.
control over their world.
Yes.
So, believe me, I have a daughter, and there's something, I'm going to save you. I'm doing this for you. It's really hard to navigate that as a person, that trusted adult, to be like, what do you think we should do? How should we do this? And like kind of guide them to making that their decision in the
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. Because that's more or less, it's teaching them how to cope and how to deal. And that's
Right.
one of the things as a parent, that's one of the jobs we're here to do, is to teach you how to cope and to deal and to navigate life. And then give examples of what happened to us. Because, we have to tell them, okay, this is why I don't approve of certain people, because I see the same behaviors that I've seen in the past. And I don't think it's okay. But
Right.
sometimes as a parent, we overlook things because we want to see the good in our kids' friends or partners or whatever. But if you have that instinct, like something's not right, ask. There's no harm
Yeah.
in asking.
There's
And
no harm in showing concern for somebody, saying, I care. This is concerning. I saw this happening, or, how are you feeling about this? What does it
mhm,
make you feel like when this person says something like this? It's always just bystander intervention. You know,
mhm,
it's worse if you see it, but you don't say anything. Maybe that person just they can't reach out for the help. So
mhm,
as a bystander, if you see something, being able to say, hey, I'm concerned about this, or how are you feeling about this? To open that doorway to being that trusted adult, being that person that they open up to and get help with through. So
yes,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, yeah. Okay. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. So, do you have any closing remarks, Meg?
My biggest thing would be to tell everyone that if you're in an abusive relationship, you're not alone. And so reach out for help, reach out to the Victims Resource Center and get a victim advocate, someone
Mhm.
who's on your side, who understands what you're going through, knows that sometimes it's hard to leave an abusive relationship, but can give you safety measures to stay safe while you're in an abusive relationship or when you decide to leave. So, if it doesn't happen the first time, it's okay. That it sometimes takes a couple tries to get away from an abusive partner. You're worth it. And there is life on the other side of abusive relationships.
So, how can we reach you?
Email at datingtipsbymeg.com at gmail.com. I have my website is datingtipsbymeg.com. And then all my social medias are Dating Tips by Meg. I have Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And so you can reach out in all those different ways, DM me, message me, leave a comment on one of my posts. I I would love to hear from people. If you have a question, I love to be someone who can give you the information if you're not able to find the information, or I can guide you to a resource that can be really helpful for you. And
Awesome.
then, yeah, I'd love to come speak at your school. I'd love to, get into your group and let other people know and share this information so we have more eyes wide open versus everyone, alone in their fight. So yeah, consider me at your next event.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. And thank you for opening up about for taking that step, because there are a lot of people that are out there suffering in silence and they shouldn't. And if we have someone who can be their advocate, such as yourself, or can point them to the resources that they need, then I'm all for it. And you'll always have a place here to talk. And I appreciate you so much. So, with that being said, everyone, I want you to be inspired, be inspiring, be encouraged, be encouraging. But most of all, I want you to be you, and I'll chat with you next week. Take care.